Hello guys, welcome to Visordown. My name is Alex and today we're in glorious Wales for the Harley-Davidson Adventure Centre with Mick Extance. It's a fantastic day ahead. I mean, I say ahead, I've already done the day, so we're going to rewind, go through all of our footage that we've captured today. It's been a nice group of us and get on with it. So let's go. So jumping straight into it, we're in Llanginog, Wales, apologies for my pronunciation, at the Mick Extance Adventure Centre. And this year this has become the location of choice for Harley-Davidson to show off their Pan America 1250 special. Mick Extance, with his team including son Adam, have around 1,500 acres of land to explore, with seemingly endless trails and beautiful Welsh forestry and countryside to enjoy. Stunning stuff. A day riding with Mick on the new Pan America is secured for £349 per person, £50 off for HOG members, including all of the RST riding gear you'll need if you want to borrow some, which we did, full use of the bike of course, including insurance and fuel, a lunch at the spectacular Lake Vyrnwy Hotel with a discounted overnight stay with your booking included, and of course riding tuition from the Dakar legend himself. Now, all kitted up with fresh RST riding gear on, we were ready for the day ahead. 4 of us were riding on the day and we pulled away on what ended up being one of a handful of spectacular sunny days in Wales. Apologies for taking one up. And yes, I did stall it as I was leaving the centre. Taking a short route through the town to the Slate Trail opening, you could tell the group of us were a little bit anxious of the day ahead. Now, whilst we all have plenty of riding experience, we were all relative novices off-road, which realistically was perfect as this meant we were all starting on the same page. Mick explained to us that he'll go through all of the basics of the bike, the techniques and the way that he approaches off-road riding. And with his 7 Dakar entries and endless enduro expertise, I'm not sure there's anyone better to learn from. Not only is this a great way to level up your off-road ability, it's the perfect way to refine your skills on 2 wheels as you learn what you're really capable of doing. Trust me when I say that we were all coming away from this quite impressed with ourselves. And we were definitely different men at the end of the day riding down that slate hill compared to the stiff wooden boards that rode up it that morning. Just pause for a little quick stop to admire the scenery. It's going well, it's enjoyable. The bike is surprisingly, well I say surprisingly, it's just adept, does it all. Really compliments you as a rider. And I'm sweating. I'm not going to do a step-by-step of what we did on the day, partly because the riding can be tailored to the group on the day with a 2-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio. Where some will be more interested in riding in the mud, others will want easy trails to just take in the scenery. Mick doesn't mind, he's just happy you're there enjoying the bikes with him, to be honest. Now, that 1,500 acre spot of land has a vast range of riding available, and you could literally spend an endless amount of time here and not get bored. My phone maps history even genuinely thinks that we went skiing for 6.4 miles in the hills, which is wild. Anyway, we did a bit of slow riding around a navigation skills area course where we were stood up on the pegs, a little bit of seated riding with legs on the ground to navigate some trickier terrain, and a little bit of riding up and down sharp inclines. Then we just went away onto the trails. That's the point actually, 3 things that I learned. Now, number 1, it's all in the legs. You don't need to take everything standing up. In fact, there's a lot to be said for taking some of the trickier terrain at your own pace, feet down on the floor and pacing your way through. And that's where the Pan America comes in quite handy here with that active suspension on the special model. With that, setting up your own off-road machine so that you can reach the floor when you're sitting down is crucial. Of course, as I say, that electronic suspension trickery on the Pan does that for you, and standing up is really comfortable on the Pan America as well. So you can spend all day on the pegs if you want, but ultimately it all comes down to what you can reach with your legs. Number 2, vision and looking ahead. It's something taught in motorcycle training schools, looking ahead and planning accordingly, but it really does underline how important it is to do this when you're off-road. Mick mentioned a few times how, especially in the Dakar, taking your own route and line and planning ahead whilst keeping your lid up is vital. I was guilty of looking down a little bit too much on this, and when I started to look up a little bit more, I was away. Now, these are the sort of skills that you do learn and practice at the ADV Centre with Harley-Davidson and Mick Extance, so take that forward with you when you're riding on the road and you will be happy. Number 3, work with the bike. Simple enough, but when riding a bike that has the tech and characteristics of this Pan America, Simply flick it into the right mode and work with it. It's a classic one that everyone susses out when riding off-road, but moving with the bike underneath you, especially on mud and uneven terrain, will happen, so loosen up and just go with it. For a spot of lunch, we headed up a steep trail at the Lake Verney Hotel, and I went for a burger, standard. On the way, we had a brief stint riding on the road as well around the lake itself, able to stretch the legs of the bike in road and sport mode. And even with the off-road Michelin hoops on, it was a good chance to briefly suss out the bike in more familiar territory for me. And then we were hurtling up another trail. So a bit on the Harley-Davidson Pan America 1250 Special then. So the main character in all of this naturally is the bike. I wasn't here to review the bike particularly, I was there to ride the bike off-road, but naturally for me, I'll jump on a bike and I'll be eager to figure out what makes this new £14,795 adventure motorcycle tick. In short, it was an incredible introduction to this bike. It's a smart piece of machinery and it felt right at home in the woodlands, despite what any prior assumptions may be, and I'm not getting into that looks debate right now. Harley-Davidson is understood to have been working on this for around 5 years before a 2021 release, and even if tailored for the American plains, like in the promo videos, it is not a poser. Powering the beast is the Revolution Max 1250 motor, a V-twin, of course, what else, with 150 brake horsepower and 127 newton meters or 94 pound-foot of torque. But don't get bogged down in the numbers. What really matters is how you use it. Am I right, guys? For a first attempt at the adventure segment, Harley-Davidson impresses with what they get right. The acclaimed adaptive ride height feature that squats down at a standstill is genius, and it is a headline act, if what, a bit of an anomaly when you first get on. But even the smaller touches impress as support acts, like the rear brake that can be positioned higher for easier use when you're standing on the bear trap pegs. Standing on the pegs was comfortable. It was easily guided over and through obstacles. It was sure-footed and stable, and you could go up and down sharp inclines without a fuss. 191mm of travel in the Showa suspension and around 210mm of ground clearance made light work of the harshest of terrains on the trails, incredibly so at times. Now, despite that total weight of 258 kilograms and the adjustable 850 to 870mm seat, which means it's quite a big bike, it was easily manoeuvred and controlled, not appearing as formidable in person as I was imagining it to be. A considerable part of the control lays with the trick electronic suspension, of course, and that would automatically lower when you switch on the machine and at a stop. It's still just as amusing at the end of the day as it is at the start, but it does help you get your feet on the ground, and as I learned, that is very important. It's very clever too. I mean, the confidence-inspiring traction control and 5 rider modes that you can switch through. You get 2 off-road, you get a road mode, sport mode, rain mode. Standing on the pegs all day was comfortable. Though I'd perhaps want to raise the bars a slight little bit as a taller rider, it was comfortable all day long. Now, this is completely standard. They've just slapped on some Michelin off-road hoops. So out of the factory, you literally have a purpose-built, rough stuff conquering package. Does it have any flaws? Yeah, a few. I mean, I'll admit that I found the throttle a little bit agricultural in its play, particularly on the lower ends, though you do get used to it. And it can sound a little bit lumpy at low revs. This 1250 likes to be revved. It would be nice to have a quick shifter too, but again, you get away with that. At one stage of the day, my throttle did also decide to pin itself at 4,000 revs with no input whatsoever. And that did resolve itself just as quickly as it appeared. And how much of that was down to me, I'm not sure. It was probably a considerable factor, but just noting that it happened. If you want more words on the Pan America, you're gonna have to read our review. And as a quick mention, what a stunning place Wales is. Mick said at the start of the day that Wales is home to some of the best scenery and terrain in the world, and I would certainly have to agree with him on that. Maybe a tour of Wales would be nice this year. Just a thought. So, what a fantastic day. I mean, I came into this as a complete novice, I won't lie. Done a little bit of light off-roading, a little bit of trail work, but nothing that's been as intense as this. And the Pan America really showed how much of an adventure bike it is, how good it is to ride off-road. I mean, the thing that stands out for me the most really is how much work you can do with your legs if you can get your legs to the ground. A short rider like Toad might struggle doing that with quite a few bikes, but this bike will help him out. Of course, I'm quite tall, so I can usually flat foot every bike, but someone like Toad will be helped out quite a lot with that active suspension that lowers when you switch the bike on. You can feel it lowering and squatting down to help you reach the floor. And when you've got your feet on the floor, you can do anything. I mean, the sky's the limit really, and that's something that Mick really got into us today, that the limit is what you can do with your legs, and as long as you can get your legs on the ground, you're away. Of course, the Harley-Davidson Adventure Centre is all about the Pan America and beautiful Wales. Can't forget Wales. That's sort of the main character here. And it's just an incredibly beautiful place to have the Adventure Centre and a day's riding on the Pan America with some great guys and girls. It's a fantastic day. So the Pan America, beautiful bike. Mick, great guy to teach and learn from the best of the best. And Wales is a beautiful scenery. I mean, those are three things that you cannot argue with at all. Highly recommend coming down here. It's £349 per person for a full day of riding, and I can't get that across enough. It is a full day of proper riding. You can do what you need to, you can tailor it to yourself and the group. If you want to go for a more scenic route, you can do that. If you want to really go for the off-road adventure stuff, you can do that. If you're a HOG member, so Harley Davidson member, I think that's £50 off as well, and that goes down to £299 per person. And I can't recommend it enough. You've got to do it. And we were blessed with a really nice day today. But if you come down in any weather, it's going to be a fantastic day out. So I cannot recommend it enough. But that's enough from me. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment down below about what you think about the Pan America as an adventure bike, because I think it is right up there. I've been really blown away by how good this bike is. Of course, subscribe to Visordown to stay up to date with all our latest content. And thank you so much for watching. Ciao.